Hello, everybody. This is Victoria Longo with this week's Friday at 5. Today I am talking all about divine timing. This is something that used to frustrate the hell out of me. And I would get so mad because I knew about law of attraction. I knew about ask and receive. And I think at that point I probably was playing more with ask and receive rather than law of attraction, but I knew that the universe was here to deliver what I wanted, right? So all I had to do was put out there what I wanted and allow the universe to deliver. And I'm not one for patience. I never have been. I want what I want and I want it now, or yesterday. And so there was a period where I had all of these things that I wanted because they were going to make me so happy because I didn't have them, right? So I was asking for them, and whether it's, there were jobs that I wanted that I thought was perfect. I wanted to start my life over in New York, so I wanted to move, and there were all of these things that I wanted to do that I was asking the universe for. And most of the time, we actually don't see all, let me rephrase that. We never see all the pieces. We only see what we know. And we assume and project and make up stories for the rest of it, right? So we only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. And we don't know a whole hell of a lot, but the universe does. The universe has all the pieces together. So there was one instance in my life, though, that even now I have to remind myself of, because I still get caught up in getting so excited for what I want, and then when it doesn't show up as quick as I think it should, getting frustrated that I don't have it, right? So I always go back to this story of how when I was starting my life over after I lost everything, I was really questioning everything. I had a blank slate, and I was looking at, where do I want to start over? What do I want to do? I'm going to be 30, right? And everything that I had planned my life for up to this point is gone, literally fell apart. So I had all of these pieces to play with of what I wanted. And I landed on New York. It was the one thing that from when I was a teenager, I fell in love with it. I loved being here. I always wanted to live here. I actually wanted to go to college here, and tried so hard to actually make my life happen here, even including getting an internship in college here, since I allowed myself to be talked out of college here. But it was the one thing that kept showing up that I wanted. So it felt, when I acknowledged that I had this long-held desire to be here, when I acknowledged it and I decided, okay, I'm going to start my life in New York, it was like this sense of knowing, just like this, yes, yes, this is what you've been asking for. So I started applying for jobs. I spent months. I would come into the city. I would either drive in or I'd take the bus and walk and hand deliver applications, and I would apply online as well, but I was applying for pretty much anything that was going to get me here. So service industry jobs, I was walking into bars and restaurants and handing in my resume. Even though I had no New York serving experience, I was willing to do anything to get myself here and to make my dream come true and make my dream a reality. And I applied online for corporate jobs because I've got a very varied skill set and there's a lot of things that I'm good at. So any job that looked interesting, I applied, and nothing. And this went on for months. And I started becoming disheartened and questioning my own knowledge. Like, can I trust my intuition? Is it right? Am I getting the right message? Is there something else? Am I cursed? I'm never going to have what I want, because at this point I had lost everything. And so I really was in a space of like, what's wrong with me that I can't get this to work? So this was my first journey back. And up to this point of moving to New York, I had started spending lots of money. And in total, over the last several years, I've spent thousands upon thousands of dollars figuring out, like, what's wrong with me? What can I do to remove this curse, right? So I did past life regressions, I did hypnosis, I did, you know, every kind of healing modality in the world. I did self-help seminars, I did self-help programs, I did meditations. I mean, just literally investing money wherever I could to fix what was wrong with me so that I could have the life that I wanted. And so, you know, not having things work out for me to be in New York when I want it to be was really hard, because I really was in a space of, you know, just rawness for myself and not understanding anything, because I really had let go of this spiritual journey. I'd really let go of any trust in my intuition, of really dealing with anything metaphysical for so many years, that I was so disconnected from all of it. And just so raw. So anyway, I cried, I sought out more healings, I sought out more help. I did all the fucking things that you could do, right? Trying to make this work. And then my dad died. Now, he had had cancer. This was not completely unexpected. And yet, it hurt. It hurt a lot. So, when my dad died, I was actually on unemployment. When I was looking to start my life here in New York, I was still receiving money from my last job. So I wasn't completely without an income. And when he died, I was already living with my mom. I had moved into their basement when I lost my home. So I could be there to help. And there's a lot of that period that I actually don't really remember, because I was so on autopilot for a lot of it. I was in shock. I had lost several people up to that point, but this was the biggest loss. And unfortunately, there was a number that occurred after that I'm better at handling grief, I think. But still, it hurt. So I had the space to heal, to help my mom heal, to help my sister, my family, to do whatever needed to be done. And there's, you know, if you've never lost anybody, there's a lot to do after death. There's so much to do. And at some point, I actually realized that had I gotten a job, had I moved into a new apartment, I would have been in a strange city. And even though I had friends in New York, and even though I was starting my life, there was a lot I had to learn about actually being a resident. And depending on the job that I had, I may or may not have had bereavement time to take off to deal with the grief. So I may or may not have received pay, and I would have been a really new employee, so there's that to consider as well. So there's all these pieces that I suddenly realized that the universe knew. The universe knew that was going to happen. And, you know, we never know when it's somebody's time, but we all have an expiration date. And I do believe that the universe knows. And when it's our time, it's our time. So the universe has access to all of those pieces, to all of that information. So it wasn't that I was being punished. It wasn't that there was something wrong with me. It really was not the right time. And it was such a blessing. And I've realized now, those jobs that I applied for, thank God I didn't get them, because what a different trajectory my life would have taken. The universe knew that there was more that I was asking for that I wouldn't have received there. But it's so easy to get caught up on what's not showing up, and what's not showing up the way we think we should, or the way we think it should, and what's not showing up when we think it should. And so this can apply to any situation. This can apply to dating. This can apply to a new job. This can apply to a new house. This can apply to money. There's so much more that goes on that we don't see. But if we're so busy looking for either what's wrong with us or not focusing on what we want, and there's actually a really important piece that I have realized, which which is the law of attraction. Like attracts like, right? So during a lot of that time, I wasn't being punished, but I was so frustrated and angry that that's the only thing that could show up for me. And when I wasn't, then what I was asking for could actually show up, rather than things that frustrated me that weren't what I was asking for, right? So during the time that we're actually waiting, there's never, ever, 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 ever going to be a point where we're 100% satisfied, where we're going to sit back and be like, now I have what I want. Because once we receive what we want, there's always going to be something else, because it's not going to be exactly the way we thought it would. So there's nothing wrong, but like when we get that new job, maybe there's an aspect of it missing, right? So we start thinking about something else, or we get exposed to a new job that we didn't even know existed, and now we want to make that our career path, right? And so there's a reason that these steps happen the way that they do, and we don't see it. So it's super, super, super important for us not to actually do anything during this time, but to focus on how we're being during this time. Because once we get what we're asking for, it might bring us joy momentarily, but there's always going to be more, and it's not going to last. So if we can focus on being happy now, it's going to make it a lot easier for us to receive what it is we're actually asking for. Because if we're spending our time being frustrated the way I was, then you're only going to get more frustration. And again, not because we're being punished, not because there's something wrong, but because that's the way that it has to show up, because it's law. And if you play with this and you experiment, if you're like, no, that's not true, try it. You can see it for yourself. If you look at what you've been predominantly being and look at what's showing up, and then try something different and see what shows up, right? It's as simple as that. So rather than getting frustrated with divine timing, now I have an appreciation for it. And I do have to remind myself of that story. And I do have to, remind myself that everything is working out, and that I actually have a really important job to do. And so if we are dating, and this is one that I see a lot, right? People are ready for the love of their lives. They're tired of being lonely. Yes, I've been happy and I've done it all, and I want to meet somebody new, but I only want to do it in person. I'm not going to go online. I hate these online datings, right? So right there, we're already kind of cutting off what the universe can deliver, because the thing with divine timing, right? Say you go on an online dating site and you get a request for a date and you show up, but the person stands you up. But you meet somebody at that restaurant, and that person that stood you up, they were only there to get you to meet that actual person who's there, right? But we don't think of it that way. We think of it as again, what we know and what stories we make up about what we know or what we've seen with other people, rather than trusting that things are working out in the right time. And so, if we are, whether it's dating, whether it's looking for a job, if we can just enjoy ourselves during this time and not get frustrated and not get angry that things aren't working out, which I know is super hard, especially with the technology today that we do have access to everything instantly or almost instantly. It can be really, really, really difficult to wait. But I know, again, from my own personal experience, and there have been other instances in my life where this has played out, but that was such a powerful, potent reminder, because I will say that when I made the decision that I was ready to start creating my own life again, I said to my mom, I think I'm going to start looking for a job. Literally, like that night or the next day, she says, my company is opening a New York location and they need to hire a whole bunch of people. Why don't you go apply? So again, I was at that point where I was going to do anything. So I applied, I interviewed, I got it. I literally boom, 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 boom. Things fell into place because it was the right time. And that's how the universe works. That's it, right? So again, rather than getting frustrated that that job, or, let's say we see a job posting that we love and we apply but we don't get it. Well, maybe it actually was a shitty job. Maybe that description lied. Maybe it wasn't what we thought it was going to be, that story that we made up about how good it was going to be and how good that opportunity was, right? and the universe knew better. But rather than thanking the universe for like, hey, thanks for having my best interest in mind, I know you're working this out, we tend to be like, that job was perfect. I don't know why I didn't get it. They probably hired some schmuck to go in and, doesn't even know what they're doing, and I would have done a better job. And, we go down that tangent way more easily than we go down the tangent of trusting the universe that what we're asking for is showing up. And trusting in that divine timing that, maybe maybe that job was good, right? Maybe that job was perfect, but somebody in another company got a different job, so there is an opening there that's actually even better than this first one. So rather than give us this first one, the universe is like, oh, hey, this actually meets way more requirements, come over here. But we're so focused on this one that we lost that we never see it. Or again, we're so focused, like with dating, on how we can only do it this way, we don't want to do it that way, and so we cut ourselves off because now we're trying to take the action to create what we want in the way that we think it should happen, rather than trusting in the divine timing that it's actually working out for us. All right, so I know this video is a ton to wrap your head around. Maybe watch it a few times just to keep it fresh, because again, this is something that I do struggle with to this day, because I am impatient. I do want what I want now, and I know what I want, and I see the end result. So I want to jump through all the spaces in between just to have that. But the universe knows that all of these spaces in between, it's working it out so that I can have that. I just have to have as much fun as possible in the meantime, right? Because that thing isn't going to fix my life. Whatever is going on is going to continue. It's just going to be a new situation because it's the law of attraction. So if I'm already enjoying myself, then how much better will that make my life, right? So trust in the divine timing, trust that it's working out for you, because it always is. And even if that one thing that we thought was absolutely perfect, it's only perfect because we could only see part of that one thing. We couldn't see all the pieces. So I hope you find this video helpful. Again, you may want to watch it a few times. Next week, we're actually going to be talking about owning our mistakes and accountability with people, with relationships, just across the board. So I hope you tune in next week. Be sure to like this video if you liked it, subscribe to my channel, and I appreciate all your support. Have a wonderful weekend.